are. And they do sound like drones.
We're seeing things in the sky that look like planes, and a lot of people are actually saying these are drones disguised as planes. They start to interpret those things as being drones because they're primed to do that, because they've seen these media stories. They see reporters on TV pointing and saying that's a drone when it's clearly a plane to anyone who knows anything about aviation. My name is Mick West. I am a writer and a UAP analyst, which means I try to identify things that are in the sky that people can't identify. Whenever we get a report of something mysterious, like a suspected drone, the most important thing to get is the date, the time, the location, and the direction that the person is looking in.
Yo, look, looks like a triangle.
This was a video where a person claimed to see 8 drones circling around above his house. This is one of the cases where we can actually get the rough position and the time and the location. And you can go into a site like Flight Radar 24 and you can just simply roll back the timeline to that date, time and location, press play, and you'll see what planes are in the air. Then you can select a few of the planes and you can see what path they are taking. So what was happening there was a bunch of planes inbound to one of the local airports, and they were simply waiting to land. So they circle a couple of times and then they carry on the way. And this creates this weird illusion of lots of things in the sky moving around, making these kind of racetrack patterns, kind of like a NASCAR track shaped pattern, but in fact it's just basically normal air traffic. What we seem to be looking at here is a photo taken at night. Seems to be a slightly long exposure. We see some reflections of lights in the top right corner that are kind of streaked out a bit, which means that the exposure was probably about half a second or a quarter of a second. And we see an object in the middle where we see 2 streaks of light, one kind of tic-tac shaped and one that's just kind of a straight line next to it. And then we see kind of a beam of light coming from it. And to me, this looks like a helicopter with a searchlight. Police helicopters often fly over neighborhoods when crimes have been committed or they're searching for somebody. If we had perhaps a slightly better photo, we might be able to see the navigation lights. But in this photo, what we're seeing is probably just the light from the searchlight itself. I wouldn't bet my life on it, but that would be my first hypothesis. This video was taken by a professional cameraman, and it shows kind of this wobbly white light. This is something I've seen a lot of times before. I used to deal with a lot of flat earthers, people who believed the earth was flat, and they would often try to prove that space was fake by taking their very long magnification cameras and focusing in on planets like Venus. And it looks exactly the same as what that cameraman caught. And this is just what happens when your camera's a bit out of focus and you're looking at something like a star or a planet that's being viewed through the atmosphere. You get this kind of strange rippling. There's this thing called the low information zone, the LIZ. And the low information zone is basically the distance away at which you can't make out the exact shape or the exact configuration or any details about the object that you're looking at. So naturally there are hundreds, if not thousands, of videos that you can't actually identify simply because they're in the low information zone. They're things that are either too blurry or it's too dark or the camera's moving around all over the place or it's out of focus. Or the object is simply too far away to see what it is. So there's lots and lots of actual UFO videos that can't be solved because there simply isn't enough information.
Approaching a country of Earth.
We haven't seen anything that actually really indicates that it's, say, something like an adversary technology or aliens. Something that's really suspicious would be something that was moving in a very unusual way. If it was simply demonstrably very large, that too would be suspicious. The way to actually demonstrate these things is to get 2 videos of the same thing from different angles. If you get 2 videos, you can kind of triangulate them. You can use the different sizes on screen to see how far away the object might be and how big it is. And you can see the intersection of the view lines will tell you, exactly where it is in space, and then you can figure out from that how fast it is moving. So this post by Peggy Dodson is a time-lapse video showing a very busy airport. This airport had 3 active runways. So you're seeing 3 streams of planes coming down, landing in these 3 runways. There's nothing at all unusual about what we're seeing here. The long streaks, just because it's a long exposure, you'll see that the cars that are moving around on the apron are also just long streaks. Airports usually have their planes landing the same way because of prevailing winds. For example, if you're at LAX, you'll notice you pretty much always take off going towards the ocean, and you will land coming in over the land. But sometimes the winds go the other way around, and to such an extent that they have to change operations, and the planes have to land in a different direction. And so the locals, perhaps one day every month or so, will see planes in a very unusual position. And because they expect the planes to be coming in a certain way, they misinterpret those planes as being something unusual, when in fact it's just the normal planes they see all the time, just in a different position in the sky. Drones do things that planes can't do. So if it's something like a quadcopter, it can hover in one spot, and it's also going to change direction very easily and rapidly. It can go across, then it can go up and down, it can hover for a while, and then it can start moving. If you're looking at a plane, if it's close to you, it will appear to just be moving in a straight line, perhaps making a smooth turn. So that absence of sudden movement is what distinguishes drones from planes. Unfortunately, it's not always that clear cut, because sometimes when planes are way off in the distance, they can appear to be hovering. If it's, say, about 20 miles away and it's facing more or less towards you with its landing lights on, it just looks like a very bright spot that is slowly moving. And a plane that is coming towards you and turning around can look at it like it's actually changed direction from left to right, when in fact it's just coming towards you in a curve. So it can be a little tricky.
The experience I had last night, however, changed the way I feel about this story completely.
This video from News Nation was a reporter standing in a parking lot and reporting live.
At least 5 lights, 6 lights?
I didn't believe what I was seeing, but what was I seeing?
He actually pointed over his shoulder and said, like, there are drones everywhere, and here's one right now. Everything he showed was 100% consistent with it being a plane. They were moving in straight lines. The lighting on planes can vary quite a lot. There's small planes, big planes. Some just have a few lights, some have a lot of lights. It can vary by individual planes within airlines. So there's a lot of variation. Problem was, this reporter, he didn't tell the exact time these videos were taken. If he gave that information out, we would have been able to look up exactly what those planes were. That one, we can't solve 100% because we don't know the time. He knows the time. He could actually tell us what time it was, and then that would solve it. But where's the story in that? Another thing some people mistook are drones coming in off the ocean, which is complete nonsense. Planes themselves come in off the ocean because they're coming from Europe and sometimes Africa, especially in the New York area. So planes coming in off the ocean are going to look like drones if you're looking for drones. About a month ago, when we were getting reports of drones over military bases, some in the UK and some in the US, and these are legitimate concerns. Drones have been used for spying. A Chinese national was arrested for flying his drone over Vandenberg Air Force Base. There was a case where a person was arrested recently for planning to use explosives attached to a drone to attack a substation. There are very real concerns. Larry Hogan published this video over his house, a very shaky video, and he is basically seeing some lights in the sky. Some of them seem to be moving, some of them seem not to be. Since we know where his house is and what time he said he took the video, we were able to narrow down pretty much exactly what he was looking at. We knew that in the direction he was looking, there was the constellation Orion, which appears, the belt of Orion, 3 stars in a straight line, appears in the video, so we could see that some of those were stars, and then identify other stars that he was looking at. And then we knew that in the direction he was looking at, there was aircraft that were taking off in the distance and also going across his field of view. So there was nothing to indicate that what he saw in that video was anything other than stars and normal aircraft. And that type of misidentification, I think it's understandable. People, when they go out looking for things, they find things. We have examples of people in the US Navy misidentifying stars and aircraft for drones. We actually have slides that they presented in Congress that show stars, but they label it as being drones. They have a video of a plane that they labeled as being drones, and there's audio of the actual trained observers misidentifying it. So if the trained observers in the US Navy can get it wrong, it's not surprising that people like Larry Hogan can also get it wrong. What we see here in this photograph is 4 lights, and it's 4 lights that unfortunately you can't make out what they are, but it's something that's actually just consistent with normal airplane lights. This is obviously something at quite some distance. You can see the lights are kind of distorted, and there's a lot of digital zoom on this particular case. We don't have the precise location, we don't have the direction they were looking in, and we don't have the precise time. From Ridge, New York, there would have been literally hundreds of planes visible that would probably match this lighting configuration as seen from this distance. Because you can see planes up to 100 miles away. Most of them are low on the horizon, but some of them will be closer to you. So this, without more information, all we can say it's 4 lights that's consistent with being a plane. Could it be a drone? It's possible, but we'd need more information. So Senator Andy Kim posted some videos of what he said were drones. He was out with law enforcement, actually looking for drones. He went to this reservoir to the east of New Jersey, and he posted these videos. And he gave an approximate time. We didn't know the exact time, but we were able to exactly figure out where he was standing on the reservoir by geolocating the 2 boat ramps that they had there. So we know what direction he was looking in.
Oh, they are getting closer.
And we could actually take some of the flight tracks, the radar flight tracks, and just kind of drop them into software, and it shows you what's in the sky in that direction. And we could see that what he was looking at was entirely consistent with just normal plane traffic. The next day, he actually did it himself with the help of some other people. He actually identified pretty much all of the planes that were shown in his videos that he originally thought were drones. So he shifted from, here I am out in the country looking at all these drones in the sky to, there I was, and all I was seeing was planes. And this is what happens when you have sufficient information about the date, the time, and the location and the direction.
This is crazy.
I think the thing that comes up again and again is people posting videos without posting the information. But if you don't want it for privacy reasons, then you try to learn how to use these flight tracking sites like Flight Radar 24 or ADSB Exchange or planefinder.net, and try to figure out for yourself what was in the sky above you at that time. And it's not too complicated. I can solve lots and lots of cases, but if people can solve them themselves, it would go a much longer way to actually damping down some of the excessive speculation that we're seeing at the moment.